You find yourself walking across warm stone, not through a city, not along a road, but along the edge of something older, a line where the desert meets the dusk. The light here is strange, not bright, not fading, just suspended like a breath that has forgotten how to exhale. And in that pause, you feel him. He doesn't arrive. He's already here, watching, still, just beyond the rise in the sand. A figure in silence, head of jackal, eyes that do not burn but reflect, skin like deep polished stone. Anubis. He stands just where the sun can no longer touch him, on the threshold of night, the keeper of boundaries. His posture is not threatening. It is calm, unmoving, a statue carved not by hand, but by time. He does not speak, but the air around him shifts. You feel it in your ribs, a hush that doesn't quiet the world but teaches you how to listen. This is the beginning of the end, or perhaps the end of the beginning. Because for the ancient Egyptians, death was not darkness. It was transition, a movement deeper into meaning. And Anubis was the first to greet you, not as judge, not as enemy, but as guardian. He came long before Osiris claimed the underworld throne. In older texts, older temples, his name was spoken in the quiet breath of embalming chambers. He was the one who wrapped the kings, the one who kept their secrets safe beneath layers of linen and resin, the one who walked the halls no sunlight ever reached. His image, black jackal, golden sash, was painted not to frighten, but to protect, because the jackal roamed the graveyards and Anubis tamed it. He did not drive death away. He walked with it. And in this moment, as you stand before him, the sand curling at your ankles, you sense that he knows more about you than you do. Not your name, not your past, but your weight. The weight you carry in silence, in regret, in the folds of memory that follow behind like shadow. He doesn't judge it. He holds it. Some say his skin is black, not because of mourning, but because of rebirth. It is the color of the Nile's rich soil left behind after flood, that deep, fertile black from which all things grow again. You look at his eyes. They are not empty. They are waiting. He does not offer words. He offers a path. And behind him, a temple, half shadow, half glow, columns shaped like reeds, hieroglyphs that shimmer even when unread. You step forward. The sand crunches once, then goes quiet. Anubis turns, but not like a man, more like a wind-shifting direction. And as you follow him, you feel the desert hush widen. You are walking into memory. Behind the temple, a single obelisk stands. On it, a name erased, not forgotten, protected. You glance at Anubis again. he pauses at the entrance to the chamber. There are no doors, only stillness, and in that stillness you feel history. Long ago, in dim-lit rooms filled with oil and incense, his priests worked quietly. They wore jackal masks, not to pretend, but to become. Their hands moved in sacred rhythm, wrapping linen with chants not meant to be heard, only felt, one strip after another, not covering the dead, preserving the soul. And Anubis watched it all. He didn't lead armies. He didn't sit on thrones. He waited, and waiting for the Egyptians was not weakness. It was mastery. Even now, his statue stands in the Valley of the Kings, guarding tombs that haven't been opened in 3,000 years. Not for fear, but for respect. You breathe. The air in the temple is cool, thick with something older than scent. Perhaps memory, perhaps dust, perhaps a kind of peace. Anubis turns again. He steps into the chamber ahead. You do not hesitate, because now you know this is not a god of fear. This is the one who walks beside you when everything else must be left behind. The chamber opens like a breath you didn't know you were holding. It does not roar or echo. It expands. Stone beneath your feet, cool and perfect, polished, smooth by centuries of footsteps that no longer remember where they came from. This is no crypt, no tomb. This is the Hall of Ma'at. You feel it before you understand it. A balance so delicate you hesitate to step forward. The ceiling rises above you in perfect stillness, painted with deep lapis stars that never blink. They hang there, unmoving, unjudging, like eyes that see everything and ask nothing. Anubis is already inside, waiting. He does not gesture. He does not speak, and yet you understand exactly where to go. To the scale. It rests at the center of the hall, lit from above by no source you can find, just a soft glow, as if the stone itself remembers the sun. On one side, a single white feather. Weightless. On the other, nothing. Not yet. But your heart knows where it belongs. All around you, silent figures sit in rows. Not statues. Not alive. The 42 divine assessors, each one a reflection of some truth, some virtue, some piece of the life you lived. They do not speak, they do not move, but you feel them seeing you, not your face, your actions, your hunger, your kindness, your cruelty, when no one watched your laughter, when it mattered most. They see it all. You do not feel judged. You feel held. This was not a trial. It was a mirror. And you remember now they said the Egyptians believed that to enter the afterlife, you had to pass the test of Ma'at. not with power, not with prayers, with truth, not grand truth, just yours. It is said that Ma'at is both goddess and concept. She is balance, order, harmony in all things. And her feather, the one that waits now on the left side of the scale, is the measure. Your heart is the weight. You do not reach for it. You simply feel it. The weight behind your ribs. The stories you told. The ones you didn't. The names you whispered. The ones you let go. Your heart is not made of blood and flesh anymore. It is made of memory, and it rises, not in your chest, in the air. Slowly, it floats to the scale and rests softly, like it's always belonged there. Anubis steps forward. No sound. He adjusts the beam just once. No trembling, no strain. His hand is steady, his gaze unmoving. He is not here to choose. He is here to ensure the balance is true. The scale does not move at first. It waits, and as it waits, you notice something. Tiny symbols etched into the base of the scale, not for decoration, for remembrance. Each mark a life, each scratch a name, and some of them feel familiar. You are not the first to stand here, and you will not be the last. Above the hall, the stars flicker once, but you know they have not changed. They are only reminding you that they are watching, that they always have been. The scale tilts, just slightly, but not toward the feather, not toward the heart. It hovers, held in a moment too delicate for time to measure, and somewhere just outside your hearing, a voice you'll never meet again whispers your name, not as judgment, as memory. A soft breath passes through the chamber, a sigh, a prayer, or maybe just the breath of Anubis himself. And your heart still rests, still waits, like a child before sleep, still here in the hush of the hall, still breathing alongside the feather and the beam. If this story feels right in your quiet tonight, you can subscribe. We whisper myths like this often. And if you wish, leave in the comments for balance. The beam hovers, a single line of stillness drawn between memory and truth, between who you were and what remains. The feather of Ma'at, soft, white, and silent, it does not waver. It does not demand. And on the other side, your heart, no longer just an organ, but the archive of a life. For the ancient Egyptians, the heart was everything. The brain was removed and discarded during embalming, but the heart, the IB, was left behind. They believed it held not just emotion, but thought, will, intention. It was your soul's true voice, and now it rests there across from a single feather. A truth so light, so pure, that even gods hold their breath before it. The chamber is quiet, not empty, just reverent. The 42 assessors do not blink. They do not move. You feel their presence like the pressure of sleep just behind the eyes. Not threatening, inevitable. Somewhere within the walls, a faint wind moves though there are no windows. It slips along the stones like memory, like the final note of a song that was never written down. The scale shifts just a little, and in that moment, you remember something else. There are those who feared this moment, not because they were wicked, but because they were uncertain. So they carried spells, small carvings etched into scarabs or folded into linen, words designed to protect the heart from telling too much truth. Because a heart can betray, even in death. Some carried amulets shaped like hearts. Others wore charms inscribed with the phrase, "Do not stand as a witness against me." They were afraid, not of gods, but of themselves. And perhaps we all are. The feather remains unmoved. It is not weighed by belief, or hope, or fear, only truth. But the truth isn't cold. It doesn't sting. It simply is. There's an old tail fringe. Some say that crows vanished from the sky the first time Ma'at's feather was laid on a scale, as if even the birds could not bear to fly while judgment was being made. It's not recorded in any of the classic texts, but still, the story remains, because some truths are too quiet to carve into stone. Anubis watches. He does not intervene. His hand is steady at the beam. He has no interest in the outcome, only that it be real. No deception, no noise, only balance. The scale settles again. Hard, still, the feather weightless. You feel your breath slow, even deep, not because of fear, because of stillness. You have become part of the chamber now, a moment, a hush, a wait that waits. And you begin to understand this ritual was never about guilt. It was about harmony, to live a life where your soul moved in tune with the cosmos, to let your choices echo gently like ripples across black water. And here, in this sacred stillness, the water is calm. You close your eyes, not to shut out the scene, but to see it better. The feather, the heart, the silence between them, and the thought that maybe, just maybe, you are lighter than you feared. He does not move. Anubis stands beside the scale as though carved from silence itself. His hand hovers just beneath the beam, not touching, only near, enough to steady it should the air falter. His jackal face is unreadable, eyes like obsidian polished smooth by centuries of watching. Not blank, not stern, just patient. You begin to feel the truth. He does not decide. He does not lean the weight. He only watches, and even that he does with reverence. His form is tall, but not looming, wrapped in linen, so perfectly bound it does not sway, even as unseen winds move softly through the hall. Anubis, to the ancients, was not death. He was guidance, a psychopomp, a walker between. He did not sit upon thrones. He did not rule kingdoms. He stood quietly beside the door, making sure it opened only for those who were ready. You glance again at the scale, the heart, the feather, still balanced, still waiting, and beside them, the one who never blinks, Anubis. Some believed his presence was enough to prevent deception, that his stillness held back the chaos just outside the hall. There's an old detail found in a few temple scrolls, mostly smudged with time, that says he could smell dishonesty, that the jackal's nose, more ancient than speech, could detect the faintest lie in a soul's breath. So his presence wasn't just sacred, it was necessary. And yet he never punished, he never banished, he only revealed. That's what makes him different. He is the one who walks alongside truth without trying to shape it. Some priests, it is whispered, used to place small weighted amulets on the chest of the dead, charms designed to press the heart downward, make it heavier with honesty, so that no hidden truths could rise too quickly to the surface. Not because they feared judgment, but because they feared being unprepared for clarity. Even in death, they believed in rehearsing balance, and through it all, Anubis watched, never flinching, never leaving. A god of quiet, of structure when grief pulls everything out of shape. His silence isn't empty, it's structured, deliberate. It's the kind of silence that makes you more aware of your own heartbeat, of your breathing, of the things you forgot you carried. He guards more than the scale. He guards the moment after the truth is known, the moment that could become panic, but doesn't, because he's there. Steady, black robes, still form, eyes that know endings, can be graceful. There are questions even now whether Anubis was ever truly worshipped as a personal god, whether anyone knelt to him in prayer or only whispered his name when their time was near. Historians still argue about it. Some say he was too distant, too silent, too sacred. But perhaps that was the point. He didn't need temples lined with gold. He needed only one moment. This one, when the feather balances, when the heart rests, when you are as you truly are, and someone must be there to see you, not to define you, not to weigh you, just to witness. That is Anubis, the keeper of the pause, the still figure at the final threshold. Stillness has weight, and when it breaks even slightly, the entire chamber listens. The scale tilts just enough. The feather, soft and white, floats ever so slightly upward, and the heart dips, not with violence, but with certainty. Anubis does not move, he does not grimace. There is no alarm, just the slow closing of a possibility. And from the far side of the hall, she appears, not with fanfare, not with growls. She walks, on padded feet, silent, deliberate. Amid, her body is pieced from 3 of Egypt's most feared creatures' head, of a crocodile torso, of a lioness hindquarters, of a thick-skinned hippopotamus. But here, she is not monstrous. She is ritual. She does not snarl. She does not leap. She waits, because even in judgment there is order. Amit is not a god. She is the edge of becoming, the last shape before nothing. You feel her breath, slow, steady, warm like stone that's held sunlight all day. But the warmth doesn't comfort, it confirms. She is not evil. She is not cruel. She is necessary. The soul whose heart outweighed truth does not cry out. There are no screams. There is no fire. They simply stop. In Egyptian belief, there was no torment for the wicked, only erasure, no afterlife, no field of reeds, no rebirth, just the final hush. The moment the wind forgets your name, that they believed was the truest death. Anubis steps aside, one gesture, barely noticeable. Amit moves forward slow and sure, and with one motion graceful practiced, she consumes the heart, not like an animal, like a conclusion. It is said that she swallows it whole, that there is no chewing, no tearing, no mess. The heart passes from being into unbeing, and the soul fades. You don't see it. You don't hear it scream. It's like watching a shadow lose its source of light. And just like that, it is gone. Not punished, not broken, just no longer here. The priests taught that this was the great fear. Not fire, not pain, but to be forgotten, to walk the world and leave no mark, to speak 1,000 words and have none remembered, to be measured and found hollow. Some left charms behind to ward against Amit. Tiny tokens slipped into tomb wrappings, written with spells like, "May my heart not betray me in the hall. May the scales be just. May Amit never know my name." And even now, historians disagree on what Amit truly was. A goddess, a demon, a mythic force meant to give structure to cosmic law. Her name doesn't appear often. She has no cult, no prayers, only this one moment, again and again, when truth outweighs the soul. Anubis turns back to the scale. He resets it, one feather, one beam, waiting again. Amit retreats, not sated, not proud, simply gone, You breathe again, slow, careful, because the hall does not mourn. It simply prepares for the next heart, for the next hush. Not all hearts sink. Some stay still, steady, balanced, with the feather of Ma'at light enough to rise, true enough to endure. Anubis sees this and says nothing. He simply steps back and opens the space before the scale. No doors, no commands, just a path. The soul begins to walk forward. Not quickly, not slowly, just with purpose. There is no celebration, no parade, only peace. Thick and golden, like sunlight, left sitting in a bowl. The hall doesn't cheer, it exhales, and beyond the scale, a new light rises. You feel it before you see it, not brightness. Warmth. It rolls across your skin like the breath of deep summer, like wheat just before it's harvested, like memory returned. You step forward with the soul, following even if you are not truly meant to go. Because this part you need to see. The field of reeds, the perfect version of life. Not heaven as a palace, not a throne in the clouds, but home remade without sorrow. A land of still water and tall grass, of calm sky and soil that never fails, of boats that never capsize, of families waiting at the horizon. The Egyptians believed this was the goal, to walk again in the mirror of life, but without hunger, without loss, without weight. The dead, it is said, would reunite with those they loved, tend their fields, harvest their crops, not because it was labor, but because it was familiar, because joy could be found in doing again what once made life worth living. Some tomb paintings show it. Clearly farmers with their tools, smiles on their painted lips. Wives and children beside them, not ghostly, but whole. There was no boredom in eternity, only rhythm, and that was enough. Curiously, even royalty painted themselves this way, not as gods, but as workers, as if to say, I will earn my peace again and again. Scholars still argue over whether the field of reeds was believed to be real, an actual place awaiting the pure, or just an ideal, a comfort for the dying, a myth for the living, a soft place to land in a hard world. But maybe it was neither. Maybe it was a way of remembering what mattered. Food, water, loved ones, a place to rest, and a place to wake up to. The soul walks on, not fast, not distant. You can still see them, passing between tall reeds, touching the heads of wheat, smiling perhaps. No crown, no wings, just wholeness. You want to follow, but you don't, because your time is not yet, and the path is not yours tonight. You turn back toward the scale, back toward the quiet, Anubis is still there, already waiting for the next, because there is always another soul, another heart, another hush. But this one walked forward and left no shadow behind. You've stepped back, the soul has passed beyond you. The field of reeds stretches quietly on, and yet the hall remains, still, vast, unmoved. The scale rests empty once again, the feather in its place, waiting, always waiting, and there beside it, Anubis, the one who never follows, the one who does not chase, the one who stays. He is not weary, not anxious. He is constant. You watch him now not with fear, but with the kind of reverence that only silence earns. You begin to realize something. He is not a god of endings. Not really. He is a god of thresholds, of spaces between what was and what may come. He does not speak. But if he did, you imagine his voice would sound like linen unfolding in a still room, like breath drawn before an answer that never needs to be spoken. There is an ancient scroll, worn almost illegible, that speaks of Hermanubis, a figure born of two cultures. Herma is the guide of souls, and Anubis, the one who watches. Some scholars believe the Greeks, fascinated by Egypt's stillness, sought to fuse it with their own motion, to give Anubis wings, to make him walk faster, to turn his hush into a message. But the Egyptians never rushed. To them, a silent guide was not lacking. He was perfect. You don't know if Hermanubis was ever truly worshipped, if he ever had temples or prayers. But you know this, Anubis doesn't need wings, because he's already there when every soul arrives. The moment breath leaves the body, he is beside you, not to pull, not to drag, just to walk with you, to measure, to bear witness, to stand beside the truth you carried all your life, and watch as it is laid before the scale. He doesn't change it. He doesn't explain it. He simply ensures that it's real, that it's yours. And then when the scale tips or doesn't, he steps aside and waits again, always again. You look at him one last time, and for a moment, just the smallest breath, you feel something pass between you, a quiet that is not empty, but earned, an understanding without words, a presence without weight, and then you turn. You step back into your own breath, your own room, your own body, but part of you remains in the hall, in the hush, in the dark, in the pause between questions, where the jackal god waits and always will. If you're still with us, still resting at the edge of myth, thank you. Subscribe if you'd like to return to stories like this. You'll always be welcome. And if you walked this far, leave a or in the comments. For the one who never leaves, Now breathe. Let the silence take the shape of sleep. You've walked far enough.